Now, when you're using this pedal with just one bass, what's really great about having the second channel is you can have a completely different setting ready to go right there at your foot. For me, I have issues where my fingerstyle tone is louder than my slap tone. So a lot of times I'll use an EQ pedal or a boost pedal or something like that just for when I switch to my thumb stuff so that it pops out a little more and has a little better EQ. Here I can do that all right here, all in the same pedal that I'm using for my same basic tone. So it's already doing two things at once and taking the place of what would have been another pedal on my pedal board. Pretty cool. So figure out the volume of that, but then if you notice, it's a little bit quieter with me not touching anything. So if I take that same tone I've got here and turn up some bass and some mid, a little bit of treble, maybe a little more treble, put the mid-range now a little higher, and then just add a little more volume, I hit the button, it has that little volume boost that I needed, but it also has the different EQ setting that I needed to get the slap stuff to jump out a little more on the high end to get the string noise against the fret, a little kind of more bottom end to make sure that I'm still rumbling some speakers and everything. So just with that, it's already taken the place of another pedal on my pedal board, which is pretty darn cool. You can also use it for a volume boost where it's just for solos, you know, where we can set it up to be exactly where the first channel is, you know, match them exactly, but then just have a little more volume on the second one. So say you're just playing a bass line. And then suddenly it's solo time. And then back. So, having that extra little volume boost helps you kind of jump out for your solo a little more, and it means you have to rely on the sound guy less, knowing your songs and knowing that a bass solo is coming up, because a lot of times bass solos are short, and by the time the sound guy notices that you're soloing, it's already halfway done and he's got the slider up just for your last big riff. This way you kind of go, hey, I'm soloing, check it out. So it's useful for that too. There's also some cool stuff where you can do where you can almost use it as a special effect where you get sort of a lo-fi tone where you have your, once again, you have your main channel set up regularly, but then you do some extreme stuff on the second one where you can like maybe take out some bass and have it be a little more kind of, you know, telephone voice sort of thing. So here's the regular sound, and then here's the second channel. So just by taking out the bass, yes, it's not the greatest bass tone, but if that's what a certain part of your song calls for, it's kind of cool to have that option. You can also, you know, then have it be a little more in the low mids and crank that, and then less treble. Or just treble and bass and no mid-range. You know, which also just takes out what's kind of interesting about cutting it in the same way that when it boosts the mid-range, it only boosts the frequency that you're talking about. So if there is a certain kind of low rumbling in that you want to get rid of, you kind of set it to find that particular lower frequency that you want to get rid of, and then you take it out like that. So that gives you more of that kind of scooped EQ where there's a big bump on the bottom and a big bump on the top, but not really into the mid-range. Also a very usable tone, and also all just within one pedal. Pretty darn cool.